अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम्। ॐ भद्रं पश्येम अक्षभिर्यजत्राः स्थिरैरङ्गैस्तुष्टुवागुंसस्तनूभिः व्यशेम देवहितं यदायुः। स्वस्ति न इन्द्रो वृद्धश्रवाः स्वस्ति नः पूषा विश्ववेदाः स्वस्ति नस्तार्क्ष्यो अरिष्टनेमिः स्वस्ति नो बृहस्पतिर्दधातु। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। ॐ सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। I think I swallowed the first verse of the Bhadram. Om Bhadram Karnebhih Shunuyama Devaha. And then the rest. I just realized after I started chanting. So I plan and I promise that today will be the last class before we start the seventh mantra of the Mandukya Upanishad. So even if I have to finish early, I'd like to complete it today. So what we were seeing was, if you remember, the context was, how does one gain happiness in this life? What are the means of doing so? One thing which is given, and one which is the basis of all the teaching, is that the primary goal of life, primary goal of living, primary goal of our experiences for everyone, the whole creation, not just human beings, but animals, plants, fish, the whole creation is Ananda. Is Ananda. Is joy. This is what the fundamental building block of the whole creation is, because the Swarupa of the cosmos, not just Swarupa of you and I, but the whole cosmos is Ananda. So as the Taittiriya Upanishad says, Anandadhi khalu imani bhutani jayante. From Ananda, everybody emanates and goes back to it. So, one can argue if our basic Swarupa is Ananda, joy, how come we have so many problems in life? How come we experience non-Ananda? So, this is something that we should really understand as we do in our teaching. And that is that it's not as though it was designed by Ishvara that, let them figure it out. It's not like that. It's not as though I know that everybody's nature is Ananda. This is a very basic question in all religions. What is the nature of the whole cosmos? What is the nature of God? Is God, Ishvara, all love, all Ananda? Then how is it that we don't have that experience? Is it something that we have done something wrong? And everybody has a different idea. Christianity has a different idea about the sin and all those kinds of things. So this is a very basic question, that there is a disparity between what appears to be a quest for Ananda, and we're not able to really find it. And so, is it deliberate? Is it accidental? Is it planned? It is unplanned? What is the nature of it? So, the explanation, the I won't call it belief. The belief is not the right word, but the truth of it is, as Advaita Vedanta, which is the voice of the truth, really speaking, Shastra, is this. This is the nature of the whole cosmos. It's the very nature of the whole cosmos. It's not deliberate. It is not planned. It is not, and I think we have been studying this. I think we did that before. Is it the play of Ishvara? Is it the desire of the Ishvara? We did all of that, remember? That apta kamasya kaspriha. I'm just revising this. We've done a lot of this, just revising that whole thing in a different view, a different way. So what is said is that it's not any of that. Then what? It is just the nature of the whole cosmos. Just we should remember that. And the nature of the cosmos is that if you don't know that you are complete, that you are in fact the Ananda itself, then you superimpose problems on yourself. If you don't know it, you have a problem. If you know it, there is no problem. This is the nature of the cosmos. And this nature of the cosmos, it's not as though one day Ishvara decided, wouldn't it be nice if we just did this? Because this would be, just think about it. That means that the mind of Ishvara is devious. Devious means he provides dukkha for people. It cannot be. So it's not planned or anything like this. This is what we need to really understand. And we don't grasp it. No, there must be someone who did this. And then you decide who does it, why did he do it, what is the problem. All those kinds of false tracts of thinking come about. The true thinking that Vedanta points out is that this is the nature. I remember Swami Vidita Atmananda had given this example very beautifully. He said, and I think this was done by, this is a story about Gautama Buddha, that this story emanated from that time. Very beautiful story. And that is that if you just happen to be going and you get struck by a very strong arrow. Kind of like the modern version is the gun. But the gun means it can just kill you. But if you have an arrow that penetrates your body, you're still alive and you're still wondering what happened. And so this is the story about a person that got struck by an arrow. So the story is that if you get struck by an arrow and you are really bleeding and you can die, it is not proper for you to say, "Who did this? I wonder where this arrow came from." That's not, don't waste any time doing that. Take the arrow out and get well. And then decide who did it. That can be done later on. If if you have to fix blame, do it. That's fine. So this is exactly what happens in our case also, is that we get involved in how did this happen? Who did this? What is the nature of this? So the Shastra says, listen, listen, listen. Please accept my advice. So the Shastra, as you know, is very interested in teaching us exactly what we need to do. It's like the ultimate mother. So the Shastra says, don't waste time. Because the nature of the whole creation is that if you don't know, and here you can substitute the word Ishvara or Atma. Either you can say Paramatma or Jivatma. It's the same. Ultimately, it'll be the same. But you choose which of the two you want. If you say that if the nature of the cosmos is that if you don't know Paramatma, if you don't know God, then you have a problem. And if you want to know God, you are okay. So this is one way of looking at it. What are you doing? I'm searching for Ishvara. This is kind of an interesting thing. I'll come to that in just 1 minute. I'm digressing from what the main thing is, but that's okay. All these things are important and related. Or you can say that the search for the self, my own self, and really speaking, the self is the Atma, the Jivatma, is so hidden that really speaking, our search starts with Paramatma, with God, with Ishvara. This is more natural. Why? Because it's very interesting to see this. Why? Because I can accept the fact that there may be God somewhere that I don't know about, and I am told by various religions, Hinduism, Christianity, Islam, everybody, that if you search for God, you'll be very happy. Right? So this one I can accept. But if the Shastra says if you search for your own self, you'll be very happy, I find that to be a very funny, hard to believe statement. I am what I am. How can I search for myself? I can't even accept your advice, let alone do it. So, but really speaking, in Vedanta, as we will see, this is what is called Jiveshwara Aikyam, and identity and all of that. All this has to be, to be explored and explained. It's the same thing. So I was saying that Going back to the search for God for a minute, um, there was a very beautiful explanation. I saw that in the book by Swami Akhandananda called Drikdrishya Viveka. His book on Drikdrishya Viveka is very revealing. I mean, it's one of my favorite texts. I remember when Swami Dayanandji had explained that in Santa Cruz. Then I recorded that. I must have listened to it so many times. But Swami Kandananda's explanations, very voluminous. It's a very, quite good. I think some of you got it when we received these. And I've been on when I have some time, I've been reading that. In one of those, he came up with a very, I mean, it's not as though I didn't know this completely, but many times these acharyas have a way of composing the text, the teaching in a way that it just strikes you. Okay, so this is part of that. So he said, this is part of our Anand, quest for Ananda. So just look at this. So let's substitute the word happiness or happy for Ananda. There are some differences, but for now, let's accept those are synonyms. So the question is to ask is, just you ask somebody, do you want to be happy? The person says, what do you mean? Of course. This in itself is very revealing. When somebody says, of course, this is very revealing. Why is it that? Because you would not say, of course, that I want to be happy, unless you think that is my goal and that is what I want to do, that is the right thing to do, that is what gives me joy. Why would you even ask me that? Nobody goes around and saying, do you want unhappiness? Because unhappiness is not natural to me. It's not my nature, it's not my swarupa. Anyway, so even that question is of course, is a very interesting answer. When you say, do you want to be happy? And the person will say, of course. Okay. So this is like an interview. You ask somebody, okay, I'm going to ask you, this is, I tell you, just digressing for a minute, asking for surveys has become such a nuisance. My poor wife, she gets up, she gets requests for, every time you go to a doctor and says, we want a survey. How did the doctor do? Amazon, how was the delivery? And she starts, she says, well, people are asking and so I have to do. I says, don't waste your time. I'm not even sure anybody looks at it. So, it's the surveys have become a nuisance. Anyway, so this is like a survey. So, I'm going to ask you some questions. Do you want to be happy? And the person says, answer is, of course. What do you mean? He has a quizzical look on their face. Why are you asking me this? Okay, then we go to the next one. Do you want to be happy in the morning or in the evening? This is another ridiculous question. This is like this is a very interesting thing in the surveys. And sometimes it's very interesting. You get a small reward, like $1. And sometimes we get, I'm sure you do too, sometimes you get an envelope with a fresh dollar inside of it. Now, this is a trick. So if I get $1, I am in a great dilemma because if I don't answer, first of all, I cannot tear this. This is illegal, and I don't want to do that. This is Lakshmi. You cannot dispose of the dollar. Let's say I don't want to listen to this survey, and I'm just going to throw away this dollar. You don't do that. So you pocket the dollar. When you pocket the dollar, you figure out, should I return? Should I fill out the survey or not? If you don't fill out the survey, you feel that you cheated them. You pocketed the dollar, you never fulfilled it. If you fill out it's a long one, seven pages. It is such a nuisance, I tell you. I hope that I most of the time I don't do that. But once in a while, if you get $1, it just really creates a problem. Anyway, so on these surveys, you'd say, do you want to be happy in the morning or in the evening? So you say morning and evening. Okay, next one, you go to the next page. If you don't fill it out, it doesn't let you go to the next page. Next page is, do you want to be happy inside the house or outside the house? Oh dear. What is going on? Why are you asking me all these stupid questions? So you say, well, inside the house. Okay, next question. Do you want to be happy when you are young or when you get old? So like that. There's so many questions. Do you want to be like this? Do you want to be like that? Then the questions become more sophisticated. The question is, do you want to be happy when you are within your own friends and family? Or do you want to be happy when you are with strangers? That is a little bit better question. And the answer is, I don't know. I would naturally, I want to be feeling happy when I'm with my family, but even if I'm with my strangers, I would like to be happy, but I'm not. That's the kind of like the sophisticated answer. So you do all of this. And the final question and answer is, do you want to be happy all the time? Under any circumstances? That's what the beginning survey really is aiming for. And then suppose you say, okay, after filling out, there is the $1 reward. So every survey has to have some reward. At least not for, if not for you, at least for them. But the reward for this would be, if you fill this out very completely, all the way up to the end, you will be given a reward. What is that reward? The reward is, you are seeking God. Here's the reward. Here's the answer. What? I'm seeking God? I'm not seeking God. I just want to be happy. I know, but then you said yourself, you don't want to be conditionally happy. Because that's exactly what our situation is. We do experience happiness, Ananda, but very conditionally. 5 minutes here, 10 minutes there, under this circumstance, there's so many impediments. Just when I want to be happy, something happens. Just when I'm relaxed and so on, somebody interrupts me with a bad news. If I want to favor the Democratic Party, then you come up in the morning and you say, oh, here's what happens. The debate that was won by Kamala Harris has not amounted to any change in the feelings of the people. Disappointment. I thought that she had won the debate 70 to 30%, and she would really now become an overwhelming favorite. No, it has had no effect. I just saw that yesterday. So your sense of happiness and peace is so conditional. But suppose you are unconditionally happy. Suppose. I don't know how I can be unconditionally happy. This I don't know. But do you want to be? Yes, of course I want to be. But I can't. That's a separate question. Leave aside that question. But do you want to be? Yes, of course I want to be unconditionally happy. You know what the answer is? You are seeking Ishvara. Why? How do you say that? Because the nature of Ishvara is unconditional happiness. What do you mean by unconditional happiness? Because it is the nature of Ishvara. It is not something which is a reflection of the Ishvara. It is not, so in that sense of the sun, and so it's not as though it is conditional light, it is the very source of light itself. I see. So Swami Kanananda says, this is very interesting. This is one of my, because I've been making a note of what are the main things I want to point out in the 2-day retreat. And when I read this, and I saw this several days ago, I thought this would make a good list. So I'm going to do that. So what Swami Kanananda says, if you ask the right question in the right manner, you'll get a different answer. Like, for example, if you go around asking people, are you looking for God? And the person says, no. I'm looking for my glasses that I've lost. That's all. I'm not looking for God. Okay, after you find glasses, what are you going to do? Then I'm going to read something. Then I'm going to eat something. I'm very hungry. And after that, I'm just going to do this. After that, then I want to go to sleep. I'm not looking for God. What are you talking about? I'm busy. I don't have time to look for God. So Mekananda says, my dear, can I tell you a secret? You are really looking for God, whether you know it or not. What? You're not looking for God. Yes, you are. Because you are looking for unconditional joy. Unconditional. And you don't know how to find it. So you're going around in circles. That's for sure. You're confused. It's kind of like a person who's going in a maze, and then you try to get out, and then you realize, oh my gosh, I've been here before. So I'm lost, kind of like I've completed a circle, and I think I've known this. This is where I was before. This is what's happening in our life. We're just going around in a maze, in a circle. And it's a circle and a maze which doesn't end in one life. This is, as I'm searching, I have been. The very fact that I'm alive is a testimony to the fact that I have been searching for millions of lives. Millions. So many different situations. And this is not going to end until you go in the right and see where it is. And where it is the most surprising thing. Most surprising. Most surprising. It is yourself. It is your own self as the Paramatma, not just the Jivatma. This is the search for it. There is so many implications, so many offshoots, so much, and so this ties into what I started by doing this is that the basis of life, basis of cosmos, basis of living, basis of experience is the search for Ananda. And so now we can tie back to what we have done and then go forward with this, which is that we have the known ways where we look for Ananda, which is bhoga, different experiences, karma, then bhakti, and also something that we didn't talk about but which is also should be included in this is thoughtlessness, samadhi. That's what the yogis want to do. No interruption from thoughts. So these are how one seeks for Ananda. Now we can tie back to the last class. So we said, if you remember, there are some defects in all this. We need to understand what the defects are. This is not competition. It's not saying you are wrong, I am right, or anything. It's nothing like that. In fact, we will see exactly why each one of these quests for happiness are actually very supportive. It's complementary to what Vedanta is saying. It's not competition. We'll see that in a minute. So, but at the same time, we should know what are the issues and problems with each one of them. And if you recall what we had done last week, and this is what now we can go ahead. Up to now it was revision. There were two defects of this. The most important defect is that all of these attempts, which are called sadhanas, really speaking, are with respect to, can you recall what we said? That aham parichanna, I am a limited person. That is the, what is the right word that I would use? That is the That's a given. That's the very fundamental point from which all of my quests begin. They start with that assumption that I am parichinna, bhoga, karma, upasana, uh, samadhi. All these stem from the fact that I am parichinna. That is not true. That is not true. That itself is not true. But anyway, that's one of the defects. What is the second defect? The second defect is that those are vritti vishesha. All these attempts, all the sadhanas are vritti vishesha. Vritti vishesha means what? They depend on certain thought forms. Is there a defect? So let it be thought form. So what's the big problem? The problem with thought forms is thoughts come and go, my dear. Have you ever seen a thought where it just stays? Not possible. So if they are vritti visheshaha, based on parichinnatvam of the jiva, that means it is agamapaina, coming and going. That is not you. And you want stability, you want something which is unconditional. So that is really not, that's not possible to do. So, and vritti vishesha means that it depends on you will always be thinking, okay, how I hope I can continue. You know, this is what happens when when I remember this. It was interesting. I was visiting anytime I go to India, when my mother was alive, and recently when my sister passed away and her daughter was hosting all of us before we go to Varanasi, and so she was there, and I kind of noticed that. And then what I noticed was, and this is the nature of the life in India, where you have domestic people helping you, helpers, and they're all there all the time and so on. So I remember this so well. In my mother's time, we would be having breakfast, and breakfasts in India are sumptuous. You got idli, you got vadas, whatever people are. So it's not like here you just eat some couple of cereals and banana and that's it. So it's a full. I remember that we were absolutely full with the breakfast. Right at that time, the cook comes in and said, "Madam, what shall we cook for lunch?" And I remember sitting there and saying, "I don't want to eat anything at this time. I am so full, I can't even think of food." And here the preparations are being made, very rightly so, because my mother would say, have you made any bhindi recently? Why don't you go buy some bhindi? Or if you want to buy some beans or dal. So that preparation has to be done. But it was very funny that while being completely full, you are thinking of something as the next step. This is what our life is. What life is, what can you do? Whenever you feel somewhat happy, you immediately start thinking about, oh, this is not going to last. It's not going to last. I think I was telling you this. I read this somewhere. There are sometimes these funny stories about swamis, sadhus and swamis. So there was a swami. These swamis are all Vividisha swamis, not Vidvat swamis. There are very few Vidvat swamis. Vidvat swamis means they're done. There's nothing to be done at all. And if you read all the biography of Swami Akhandananda called, what is it called? I think many of you have that book, Pavana Prasanga. Beautiful book. Highly recommended if you are a Hindi speaking person. In the Pavana, this was recommended to me by Swami Tejomayananda of Chennai Mission. He sent me that book, gifted it to me through a friend. Thoroughly enjoyed it. So in that, you find a whole story of Vidvat sannyasis. Vidvat sannyasis means that they were done. They understood exactly what is going on. Mahatmas, true meaning of Mahatmas. But most of the sannyasis that you see, 95, I would say 99% of the swamis that you see are not Vidvat sannyasis. They are Vividisha sannyasi. Vividisha means Veditumicha. I want to know. Just like you and I also want to know, they also want to know. They are a little bit more focused than we are because they have done Vairagya for everything. This is why it's called sannyasi. Samyak Nyasi means, sannyasi means they have totally given up the brand new name, brand new clothes. So they are a little bit ahead of us. But they are still seeking. Anyway, so this Swami, I read about him. He made an experiment. Very interesting. He said, let me find out what is the length of the time when people feel happy. He started collecting data. Very interesting research, really, very useful research. And I read that his conclusion was maximum of 15 minutes. You may be absorbed in something, reading a book or something. That's not true happiness, but at least you are absorbed. But we are talking about a sense of what is called alam buddhi. I don't want any more. I'm done. I'm happy. That happiness lasts no more than 15 minutes. So then you go for the next one. So the second effect of all these methods is that it is vritti vishesha. Vritti by nature doesn't last more than a few minutes. And so this is not the proper way to do that. Oh yes, no, I can do it. I'm practicing. So this is what I was giving the example about vipassana. That you go to these vipassana camps and then you are supposed to be practicing. See, this is the thing. Practicing itself is a problem. I'll tell you why it's a problem. It's not just something. I'll mention that. I'm just collecting all these kinds of things because today it's already 9:13. So I have maybe another 20-25 minutes and then I'll finish this introduction and we will start with the 7th mantra next week. Promise. So I'm just going back and forth here. Not back and forth, but just giving you some commentary on these things. So there, we saw the example, the vipassana it's a practice. So how long can you do the practice? No, if you keep on doing it, practice, then it will be, you'll get it one of these days. Keep on doing it. Just be quiet. Remove all the thoughts. And you know, the very beautiful story that somebody talked about, that this king who had this daughter and he wanted someone to cure his baldness. And he says, okay, I can do that, but don't think of a potato or an egg. Remember that? So that story means that you keep on practicing. I'm not thinking of a potato. Oops, I shouldn't think of a potato. I'm thinking of a dog with hair. And suddenly some thought come. What is it that I was not supposed? Oops. This is exactly what's going to happen. So here, this is an important thing to see, that sadhana, sadhana means a means of accomplishing something, is only relevant if the vastu that you are trying to achieve is yet to be achieved. So that's definition of yet to be achieved is called sadhya. 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 So it all comes from the same dhatu, same root, sit. And so sadhana means the means of accomplishing. Sadhya means what is to be accomplished. Right? Sadhaka means the one who is attempting to accomplish. So all these sadhana, sadhya, sadhaka they only make sense if the vastu which is sadhya is different from you, isn't it? It's different from you. So that's one thing. The second thing is your results, your sense of accomplishment depends on you, the sadhaka. Very much depends on you. So this is what is called in Sanskrit, and I think we've used this word, but this is an important word to use, is what is called kartratantram. Kartatantram. The results of accomplishment when the situation is that of sadhana sadhya is kartratantram. Means it depends on the karta. Karta means the doer, the sadhaka. Up to what point you have accomplished your goals, how well read you are, or if in the case of a physical thing, have you done? Do you have the muscles? Do you have the body to do it? If you're not, then you cannot do it. So, even in police and military and so on, you need to have some very strong bodies. And so it is all depends on Kartatatra. This is the sadhana sadhya relationship. But suppose what is to be established is yourself. Very interesting. What is to be established is myself. how can I be established? I am what I am. How can I is to be established? It does need to be established if you have a wrong notion about yourself. Wrong notion about myself? What do you mean by wrong? I am what I am. What do you mean by wrong notion? You are what you are, but you don't understand it. My dear, how is that possible? Yes, it's possible. Can you give me one example where this is possible? Dashamas Tvamasi. You are the 10th one. We know all that example. Oh, you are the missing person, but you are looking someplace else. So that means even though you think you know yourself very well, there was one aspect of yourself that you had not, that something was missing. And that aspect that was missing made you the missing person, hold all together. So yes, the establishment of the self is very much possible. If so, will sadhana, sadhya work? No, because sadhana, sadhya is if the sadhya is something different from me. For me alone, what kind of a sadhana can be? You cannot even have a sadhana. I am what I am. If you tell me. So this is to be understood, should be wonderful. It is to be grasped that sadhanas for self-knowledge do not work, are not necessary. Then, what is it to be done? So this is what is called Vastu Tantra. Please grasp this very well. These are very important things to base your understanding on. So my quest in life is either Kartra Tantram or Vastu Tantram. So the Vastu Tantram means you have to know something as it is. It is not a matter of how to do it, what to do or anything. It is just to see yourself as you are, just like what the light does. The very nature of light, as you know, is it doesn't create anything. All it does is to show something as it is. And before knowing the thing as it is, you may have had any number of notions. You know, like supposing you stumbled onto something in the dark. That happens. You go to a hotel or a new place where it is completely dark, and you are walking towards, let's say, go to the bathroom, and you get stumbled onto something. It is completely dark. So now you say, what was it? Is it a chair or a table or some other obstruction? Then you turn the light on. And when you turn the light on, it does not create a table, does not create a chair. It shows you exactly what you hit. That's all. And that solves a lot of problems. So there is a difference between doing something to create the table. This is called kartrutantvam. Or knowing exactly what the table is that obstructed you is called vastutantra. So the Shastra simply provides the light to you as you are. Doesn't create any new thing. It says, my dear, you are the very nature of Ananda. You are the very nature of Ishvara. And the two are the same. Why don't I know this? That's a separate question. At least understand this part first. Why don't I know this is a separate question. And as I was telling you, I remember this so well in these satsang with Swami Dayanandji, where somebody says, Swamiji, how is it that I don't know myself? You make it so clear. I remember Swamiji saying, wait a minute, you stole my question from me. I was just going to ask you the same question. Why don't you see yourself as it is? So we'll talk about this in this retreat, the reasons why we don't see it. But what the acharyas all say is that you're so enamored of your own false identity that it is difficult for you to grasp the enormity of the truth. You can express this in various ways. Swami Dayanandji used to say that, the room space and the total space example, that if you tell the room space, you can be the total space. And the room says, no, I don't want to be the total space. I just want to be slightly bigger. I don't want to be a bathroom. I want to be like a hall where people sit. That's all I want to do. No, you don't need to be a hall. You are the hall. You are, in fact, enclosing everything. No, I don't want to do that. That doesn't appeal to me. I just want to be slightly bigger. Swami Akhandananda points out very extensive talks on this. He says the thing is that you are so enamored of the trivialities. You're so involved in making money and being worried about your retirement and things like that. So many, you're surrounded by that this big thing about what you are doesn't strike you, even though it is the truth. The fact that you are the total space does not It doesn't mean anything to me. Total space means what? I have to be something very specific. I remember that Swami Dayanand used to say that you see the advantages of being specific. Beautifully done, Swami Dayanandji. I remember that his words so well. He said that we can all see the advantages of being something limited, something specific. We don't understand the disadvantages of being limited. Wonderful. And the disadvantages of being limited are not to accomplish something which is unlimited. You are already unlimited. Beautiful. So this is Vastu Tantra. You have to see yourself as you are. And the reason you're not seeing as you are is because all of the identifications that you have on top of you, those have to be removed. Neti neti iti adesha. Naiti naiti. Not this, not this, not this. So the Advaita Jnanam, just reading some notes from Swami Akhandananda, it is what is interesting. It's called neither pravartakaha nor nivartakaha, neither positive nor negative. This is what all the acharyas have been saying. Swami Tattvavedananda says this so repeatedly, that the moment you stop seeking pleasure, and of course pleasure meaning that the opposite of that, which is also sorrow, dukkha, both sukha, dukkha, because those are dvandva. They are imposed on yourself. Because your idea of ananda is that I just want to be happy now at this moment, that's all. Or that I don't want to be unhappy at this point. I don't like this situation. Either case, this is the dvandva. But you are something, it is neither pravartakaha nor nivartakaha. Neither positive nor negative. It's the very nature of both. Nature of both meaning that both are superimposed on yourself. See the independence of yourself away from it as a sakshi. Let's see in the next few minutes if there's something that. Oh yeah, there's one thing that I wanted. Yeah, I'm happy that I just looked at my notes. And I actually promised you that before also. So, remember we talked about the fact that all of these attempts at sukham, at ananda, namely bhoga, karma, upasana, and yoga, samadhi, they have defects in them. But here's the thing, they're not useless. We don't say that at all. They're not useless. They're not competitors. You don't need to reject them. This is a very important thing for us to say. We're not opposed. Vedanta is not opposed to any religions, any religious practices at all. But what we say is They are complementary, not competitive. And this is the very nature of the teaching of the Bhagavad Gita to Arjuna. I mean, this permeates practically all the chapters of the Bhagavad Gita. All the doubts that Arjuna had, all the teaching, all the removal. And that is that you are the whole. You don't need to do anything. You are making a mistake. Ashocyan anvashochastam. Avinashitu tadvitti. You are. But tasmat yudhyasva bharata. Therefore keep fighting. Arjuna says, this is very confusing to me, sir. You are just messing up my mind. On one hand, you say that this is the truth, that you're not affected by anything, you're not killing the Kauravas, you should just, they're already dead for all intents and purposes. And then you say, please fight. You're talking from both sides of your mouth, and I don't understand this. Mohasi Iva. It's very interesting. I remember those. That you seem to confuse me. So it's very nice to say you seem to. Iva means it's not accusing him of being confusing. He says, but the way I get it, I'm confused. Tell me. Where Krishna says, these actions that you have to perform are not useless. So similarly, in all these means of gaining sukha, like the one we mentioned, the 4 ones that we mentioned, are not useless. Then they are necessary for you to improve yourself to the point where you can understand who you are. They are not the final answer, but there are very good steps to do that. We don't reject that. Karma is very important. Swami Khandananda also says that bhoga, a sense of pleasure, a sense of enjoyment, is very important. You cannot say that, I'm just going to... This is not vairagya, that I'm just going to avoid good food and pleasure and anything. I'm just going to sit in the corner. He says, how long are you going to do that? It's like telling Arjuna. Arjuna said, you told me that meditation and nididhyasanam is the means to shanti, and that's what I want to do. So Krishna says, shall I tell you exactly what will happen if you don't insist on that? But if you do, you know what will happen? I'll tell you what will happen. These are Swami Dayananji's words. I remember it so well. He says, here's what's going to happen. You'll say Kurukshetra is just, it's all kinds of problems. I want to go to Rishikesh on the banks of the Ganga and meditate in a hut. He says, okay, do it. Do it. You shouldn't do it, but if you insist on it, do it. You'll go there for the first few days, I'm going to be wonderful. But your mind is still on the battle. You've done all your life. What kind of meditation are you going to do? For a couple of days, you will start asking for the newspaper and say, I wonder how that war is going. I was involved with that. So you need action, you need involvement, you need bhoga, shanti, all of the upasana, everything is there until your mind becomes understanding of understanding of the truth about the self. So the defects that we point out towards these sadhanas for ananda are not a defect to say don't be engaged in them. All these are very useful. It is just to say that that is not the final answer. Why is it not the final answer? Because until you think that this is sadhana sadhya, apraptasya prapti, as long as you keep thinking, you're not looking at yourself. And then your mind says, oh my God, this is what I was missing. So this is praptasya prapti. And so in preparation for the praptasya prapti, all these other things are not useless. They're all useful, but they're not the final answer. All right. So some preparation for all of this through the various Karikas by Gaudapadacharya Ji. And then we are now going back to the seventh mantra of the Upanishad that we will start next week. Om Asato Ma Satkamaya Tamaso Ma Jyotirgamaya Mrityorma Amritam Gamaya Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate Om Shanti 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 Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Harihi Om. All right. Happy you all joined in. Wait a minute to see if you have any questions. Doesn't look like it, so that I will take your leave and will hopefully see you on Tuesday. Hari Om.